Imagine for a second what you would be willing to give up to reach your absolute highest potential in something you love. Maybe you'd give up sleep, or a hobby, or a bit of comfort. But would you give up your own humanity? Would you ask to trade your hands and feet for those of a predator? Today, we're diving into the Thillai forests of ancient South India to meet one of the most visually striking figures in all of Tamil spiritual history, Vyaghrapada. Before he was the tiger-footed saint, he was a young seeker named Majhalan. He lived a quiet, dedicated life near what we now know as Chidambaram. His daily ritual was simple but incredibly demanding. He wanted to offer the most perfect, untouched flowers to Lord Shiva. But Majhalan had a problem. Well, two problems actually. First, there were the bees. By the time the sun came up and he could see well enough to pick the flowers, the bees had already been there. In his eyes, if a bee had touched a flower to take its nectar, that flower was no longer pristine enough for the divine. It was already shared. Second, the best, most beautiful blooms weren't just sitting at eye level. They were high up in the canopy or buried deep in thickets of sharp, nasty thorns. In the pre-dawn darkness, climbing those trees was nearly impossible and dangerous. Most people would have just settled for the flowers on the lower branches, but Majhalan wasn't most people. His devotion was a bit intense. He prayed to Shiva, but he didn't ask for a ladder or a flashlight. He asked for the eyes of a cat and the feet of a tiger. Think about that. He wanted to shed his human grace for the raw functional power of a beast just so he could serve better. Shiva granted the wish, and suddenly Majhalan became Vyaghrapada. With these powerful claws, he could scale the tallest trees like they were nothing. With his nocturnal vision, he could move through the forest in total darkness, plucking flowers while the bees were still asleep. He became the ultimate specialist in devotion. But Vyaghrapada wasn't just obsessed with gardening. He was waiting for something bigger. He was waiting for the Ananda Tandava, the great dance of bliss. He wasn't alone in this wait either. He was joined by another legendary figure, Patanjali, who is often depicted as half human, half serpent. You have to picture this scene. In the wild forest of Thillai, you have a tiger man and a snake man, both deep in meditation, waiting for a glimpse of the cosmic rhythm. And eventually, it happened. On a day we still celebrate as Thai Pusam, Shiva appeared and performed his magnificent dance in the Hall of Consciousness. To Vyaghrapada, this was the ultimate reward. The flowers, the tiger feet, the years of waiting, it all led to that one moment of witnessing the universe in motion. If you go to the Nataraja temple in Chidambaram today, you'll see him. He's right there at the entrance, half man, half tiger, standing next to the serpent-bodied Patanjali. They are the eternal witnesses. But beyond the cool visuals, what does his story actually tell us? In the Tamil tradition, those tiger feet are a symbol. They represent the strength and the grip we need to navigate the thorns of life, the distractions, the ego, the noise. Vyaghrapada teaches us that sometimes to reach the divine, you have to be willing to change your very nature. You have to be single-minded to a fault. Even though he predates many of the famous Tamil poet saints, they all looked back at him with total awe. To them, he was the blueprint for what it means to give everything for a single goal. So, the next time you see a flower at dawn, think of the saint who climbed through the thorns in the dark just to make sure the very best of nature was offered up before the rest of the world even woke up. Thanks for listening.